Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Happy election day. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you on what is sure to be an interesting day. Yesterday was interesting too. We're going to talk about the follow through and a lot of trades from yesterday. We've got, seems like we've got a bit of a Biden trade on. So I'm not sure what that says about what could happen later today or tonight, but you had huge rallies in solar and cannabis. And we're going to talk about the big tech trade. We're going to talk about stocks that have ballot initiatives up tonight and how that could affect them going forward here. Our guest is Nick Chahine. He is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads and SellSpreads.com. We also have some earnings on our radar. We've got Alibaba. This is just out a few minutes ago that the Ant IPO has been suspended. We're going to talk about that. So we got a lot going on here. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, show us the love there. Joel, what is going on here in the overnight session?
We got Major Green on the screen here again on this Tuesday morning, November 3rd, election day. Really didn't spend much time in the red at all. 0.125. That's just above your closing price from yesterday. We caught a bid, and it was just a relentless bid. 0.125, as I mentioned, is pre-market low. I don't think we're going back down there today, folks. Pre-market high, we've got a better shot at looking at that, 49.75. That kind of puts us in no man's land. Our 5-day high is up at 70.25. But yesterday morning, we went up and tested that pre-market high, and that ended up being the high for the day. So we'll keep an eye on that. Crude bouncing back under $34 yesterday. You blink and a few deals, and we're up $1.04 at 37.85 to see if that's helping oil stocks. Gold above 1900, up 890 at 1901.40. Silver into green as well. That's up 30.2 cents here. Let's call it 30 cents at 24.33. And Bitcoin looking at 14,000 straight in the eye 4 or 5 days in a row, but pulling back a little bit today, down $125 at 13,665. Good morning, Triple D. I don't even think you had a chance to short anything last night. We were pretty much straight up.
Yeah, we slowly climbed. There wasn't the kind of volatility that we're used to. I mean, it's been obviously crazy volatility. It was a quieter night, but there's always opportunities there, and there's always stuff going on. And I trade headlines. You look at different things, so there's always opportunities. But I really want to start with that Alibaba news here because this is the news of the day. It just broke about 5 minutes ago.
Yep.
And the stock is getting absolutely slammed. I do own this in my long-term portfolio. So, man, investing is hard sometimes, Joel. Like you think, you climb here in Alibaba for the last month, and then boom, in one headline, it's all gone. So it reminds me of that South Park, like, I'm investing for you, and it's gone.
And it's gone.
Well, that's how I felt with Twitter. Obviously, I'm in Alibaba from a lot lower. I think I've been at 135, so I'm holding on to it, but still down 15 points on your position, and it's a pretty sizable position for me. It's grown into be a sizable position. Doesn't make you happy. But anyways, so give us the news here, Alibaba, Mr. Israel.
Yeah, so the news out a few minutes ago that the Shanghai Stock Exchange has I guess halted or suspended the Ant IPO. I don't know what that means for the Hong Kong exchange because it's going public on both exchanges. So I don't know about Hong Kong, but for now, at least, it looks like the Shanghai Stock Exchange has halted the IPO on their exchange for Ant Financial. And we talked about this yesterday for a second, but think about some of the numbers here. So Ant is trying to raise just over $34 billion via their IPO. Retail investors are getting insane amounts of leverage for this thing. They are being offered as much as 33 times margin to purchase the stock with. I think I saw some numbers that there's like a couple of $1 trillion worth of demand. Yeah, $2.8 trillion worth of orders for an IPO that's looking to raise $34 billion. There's just ridiculous amounts of demand out there. So to call this oversubscribed would be an understatement. It's about 870 times oversubscribed. It's just insane. So I don't know what is going on over there.
Yeah, why are they suspending it? Like, this is just temporary in Shanghai, or is this, something? I guess we're just breaking 5 minutes ago, so devil's in the details there.
Yeah, but think about it. Like, I mean, we know it's China. We know their markets are a lot different than ours, to put it mildly. But some of the numbers I just said are absolutely insane, right? 33 times leverage, 870 times oversubscribed. You never see that sort of stuff in the U.S. where we have more regulated markets. So again, this IPO is a little weird. I don't quite know what's going on. It's probably good that they suspended it because there are some funky numbers here.
So they're just looking into more details here. So obviously not good for Alibaba owning, I believe, 30% of Ant Financial. So the suspension here is hitting that stock directly, down 5.3% here now, down 17 points. I mean, it's hard. You can come in and say, oh, here's a dip for me to buy. And sometimes they do bounce back, but a lot of times you end up getting like a Twitter where it dips off the hop and you think, oh, I'm going to buy the dip, and it just continues lower. I mean, Fastly was the same thing. Obviously, this isn't an earnings event. This is just a headline. And maybe, tomorrow they come out, oh, no, where it go, and, the stock will pop right back. So the headline risk here to the shorts, obviously, is that this suspensions is temporary and they're still going to go through with it, which I would think they would. But we've seen time and time again through this earnings season, if you're buying off the initial headline, the dip, and we always say buy the dip, but on the initial headlines, it's paid to wait. And I don't know if you want to wait here on Alibaba or if you want to just strike, but I've been burned a lot of times being too early.
So they're interpreting this as a bad thing that there's such high demand, right? Well,
I think they're just looking into it. It's probably giving it scrutiny, right, Spencer? Like we don't know what it's only broken 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, so we don't know exactly why they've suspended it.
We know that overnight, the Jack Ma and I guess some other executives got summoned by regulators to talk about this IPO because again, these numbers like almost aren't real, right? Like they're so crazy. So again, just to repeat, their $2.8 trillion worth of orders, and they only want to raise $34 billion. So like these numbers are just backwards, right? So I don't quite know what's happening.
The demand's just threw off the charts.
I don't know why there's so much demand. Maybe it has to do with it, like seemingly infinite leverage that you can get to buy these shares, but like something's fishy here. We can just say that.
I'm not sure how to interpret this either. 290, you hit that twice. So that's a number right there. I know you can see it here on the 15-minute chart. You bounced $6 off it, $5 off it. So if you want to say, hey, this is a good thing for Alibaba that everyone wants this Ant thing, then you can lean on that 290. It takes out 290. You got a potential support here, a gap to fill, down to 2. You have a low at 283.79, then 279.30. So if you lose that 290, I see some mild support in the 80s. I think you just have to pick your daily lows. But right now, 290 has to be your focus.
I'm just going to say it again, though. Maybe this is just temporary, and this is a kind of headline that it could bounce right back. But just going to the earnings, different earnings plays and stuff, we have been punished being too early. Like I bought the AYX the day after it tanked, and I sat there and I got lucky that it had the earnings afterwards. But the people who have been buying right off the hop, the Fastly, and my kids are going crazy here. They must be pretty excited with this Ant Financial thing. It's been a disaster really to be too early. I mean, the Twitter. Obviously, you sold it before the earnings report. I should have sold it right as soon as it reported, the next day, because I mean, it lost $6 and then, it opened and has continued to tank. It can't even find support. It's like once the momentum gets killed, once they break trend, these things stay ugly for a long time. I mean, even Amazon, the report that was awesome caught everyone. And there's something to that too, on these reports when they whipsaw and they snap up at first and they look good and they catch a few people and then they just continue to tank them. I mean, Amazon lost another 100 points at one point yesterday. I mean, we're looking at a stock that blew it away when the stock had closed at like 32.50, and now it's fallen. It fell almost 10% from where it was.
What if you're long?
Awesome
what if you're
report.
long? What if you come in and this is your portfolio and you've been holding on this and for a long time and you wanted to stop yourself out at at 295? Then I'd say do it. Stick with your plan.
You got to do it.
Just
I mean, that's such a good point. And this is what people don't do when they're trading overnight. They're like, well, I was in Alibaba, but I want to stop myself out at 300. It's 295. Well, I can't sell it now. It's 5 points below where my stop was. I mean, I have this happen to me because I hold overnight positions. And I have this happen to me at least once a month, probably more, that I get absolutely slammed on a headline. And what do I do in those instances? I cut it. I just get out. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, I was short Celgene when it got taken over. At the beginning of last year on my overnight portfolio. I was short in my trading account on my overnight portfolio just against probably doing the ARB against, probably the IBB. And it opens 30 points against me. It opened up 50%. It went from 62 to 90. What did I do? I covered it. I mean, there's nothing I can do. I got taken over. I eat it. It hurt my week of earnings, one trade, but that can happen. So, I mean, as a trader, you've got to be disciplined and say, if your stop was 300 and this sucker's trading 295, you got to stop yourself out. You eat the extra $5 and you move on. Nothing you can do. Overnight risk. There is headlines in overnight trading, and you're going to see it again and again. As you continue to trade through the years, you're going to get slammed on a rating. You're going to get slammed on unexpected guidance, that just comes out of the blue. You're going to get slammed on a headline. This is a slammed on a headline on Alibaba. A lot of people probably long anticipating, the Ant Financial IPO is coming. Well, now those people are all stuck. So can it bounce from here? If the headline, it probably can, but it doesn't have to. So don't get yourself stuck in something and saying, I'm hoping it's coming back, because you never want to be in that hope trade.
Yeah. Okay. Now, another good level too here, since you got that bounce off 90, let's just look at the rebound high. So if you're looking for a target, did that get right to 300? What a nice number there. On the pop, 300. So the digesting the information, you found buyers at 290 and sellers at 300. Will we chop between those two levels the whole day? Oh, I don't think so. I think you'll see some movement out of there. But right now, people are playing the whole numbers, 290, and right in the middle there, 295.
So that's the headline. I mean, that's a big move for a big stock. But we've been seeing, and let's put this in perspective. Alibaba's held up very well. I mean, you look at, mega tech has been slammed. I mean, we have had a rotation. You've got Amazon trading 500 points off the highs. You've got Apple that's starting to look, ugly, and it's significantly off the highs too. I mean, Apple topped out 137. It's 108. And then you had Alibaba, making new all-time highs a few days ago. So you've seen mega tech get slammed, and maybe this is the Baba moment where it's going to come in a little bit too. I'm still long Baba. I'm not selling my long-term Alibaba because I believe in the long-term story here, but to say it's going to just bounce at 295, a lot of these other tech stocks have not.
Also, though, let's be honest. What are the odds that this IPO doesn't happen?
No, exactly. It's probably going to come out with the next headline and probably going to, whether that's tomorrow or the next day, it's probably going through. So does it rally though back $15 when they push it through? I don't think so. I don't think it gets it all back. It gets some of it back. So, but what's to say this doesn't continue to leak? I mean, this just broke trend. There's a lot of technical traders there that were leaning on the 300. 300 was huge support for the last month.
Consolidation too, man.
Yeah, now you consolidate and the break is lower. That's not good from a technician's perspective.
And if you're like, okay, I'm longer term here, I'm not going to freak out on this, I think it's going to bounce. What I would take a look at just a little bit longer term, and I'm going to throw out that 2-day low, but you had all these lows right in this area, right? Let me move the line up a little bit. 305, let's call it, not exact. Also, that's a gap fill from yesterday. So if you get anywhere near yesterday's low at 305.39, I'm sure a lot of people going, cha-ching, let me out. Don't know if you'll see that closing price at 310. 84. So actually, I want to say, what exchange did this? What was
Shanghai.
it?
So this was.
I want to
Shanghai.
thank the Shanghai Exchange for doing this, because we got to 16 minutes without talking about the election. Hallelujah. I love the Shanghai. I'm going. Is it publicly traded, the Shanghai Exchange? I'm going long it.
Well, you can
I don't think you can.
you can find a Chinese broker and open an account and start trading Chinese.
I wonder if I could get 66 or 99 times leverage.
Probably at this rate. What about the e-commerce trade? Sort of a couple of stocks going opposite directions today: Wayfair and PayPal. So I guess I'll give you the numbers on PayPal first.
Okay.
The earnings were good. They beat on the EPS. They beat on the sales. They added a lot of accounts. Guidance was a little bit light though. The guidance that they gave, they didn't actually come out and say this is our EPS number going forward, but they gave a revenue earnings growth estimate, and that estimate, when you do the math out, comes out to lower than what analysts had been expecting for EPS going forward. So lighter guidance from PayPal despite an earnings beat. They said that the eBay's transition away from PayPal is happening faster than expected. So there's that. And on the other side, you've got Wayfair, who just completely blew it away in every sense of the word. The EPS, the sales, it just totally crushed it. The year-over-year growth here is ridiculous. So you got PayPal and Wayfair going in opposite directions this morning, kind of the same trade, but in different directions.
You got good support down at 170 in PayPal. Again, to buy on day one has not been the play this earnings season because they have continued to leak. This isn't like it just reported 10 minutes ago, so the chop is done.
Yep.
It's digested now, and it wants to be down. I mean, that's what we say. Sometimes on the initial, you get this initial headline, you get the chop. And that's when you can, like the Twitter trade up to 54. I mean, those are tradable events if you think you've got an opinion and you think the market's opinion is temporarily wrong, which it often is. But when you look at PayPal now, we've digested. We want to be down, it looks like. You got good support. It's a good company. We looked at in the pre-market show, we were looking at the, at the forward multiple. It's trading about 40 times. So it's definitely not cheap, but in this space, with the growth that it's still got going on, it's not super expensive either. Is it attractive at 170? Probably. But again, you're buying on day one at 177, you might be early.
Action in the after hours took it down to 174.02, and I kind of like that area for a couple reasons. One, it was good for a bounce, and then also going over to the daily here, you got three lows in this area, and they're all from 171.5 to 174. So that's a zone. You got there in the pre-market, they stepped out ahead of it. Actually, that 74.08. That was the low on the 21st. So you hit an area of support. You got a nice bounce. You have some daily lows underneath it. So I'd keep it on. I don't know. It just looks like people kind of think they missed the dip on this one. And on the upside here, if you're looking for just a shorter term resistance point, it had trouble when it got back over 180. 180.50 was the high of the rebound. So 172, 180, I'm comfortable with those numbers, but as Dennis mentioned, first day, digesting the entire report. And I mean, if you want to look at the run since the March low at 82.07, I mean, you got a long way to go for a decent retracement in this one, right? Because you went, you got to wait. You got to wait for 149, 150.
We've run so far. I mean, you think, relatively like, oh, this is cheap. How can I go wrong? And, I keep using the Fastly example, but Fastly had such a ridiculous run from April to September when it ran from $20 up to $136. I mean, now you're at 60, 20 to 60. It's still up 200% from where it was back in April and March. So, from a relative perspective, it's still a long ways up there. And you've seen Fastly just continue to leak. I've been looking at this and I thought it might bounce around 72, but I didn't strike because it didn't really give me a reason to. It hasn't really given me, it goes down every day. I mean, now you got a little double bottom in place. Maybe you're getting to a point here, where you could strike on Fastly. You got the 62.10, 62.60. At least you got a little two lows to lean on in the same area. But again, it's just tough to buy on day one.
Yeah, you just might be getting a little bit of like seller's exhaustion here. You got everyone out of the pool.
It's due for a bounce. It's so oversold now.
Let's see.
I'm just trying to use it in the PayPal context because
okay.
as people come in on day one and saying, how can I go wrong buying PayPal at $10? Those same people were buying Fastly at 90 and now Fastly 65. So I think you wait till the dust settles. That's what I've learned through this earnings season. It's different every earnings season.
Correct.
But with this one, it is paid to wait. My DraftKings, I was way too early on that. I thought I was going to bounce to the 40. This wasn't earnings. It just kept leaking. But it's continued to leak. And obviously I wanted to sell it through 40. And then, I'm just not even paying attention to it enough. But, you're at the point now, I'm at the huge 35 support and starts to take that out. You're going to have to just cut bait with this and get out. But it's ugly. But I mean, you got to look. And, obviously the trend, not your friend on a lot of these stocks here. But PayPal's been trending higher. And yes, it's a good company. Yes, it's one of the loved ones. And yes, it probably eventually finds buyers again. But I'm just saying it has paid to wait.
2 monthly lows. Well, it's only the second trading day of the month, but last month's low was 34.90. And we hit 35.02 yesterday. Got a little bit of a bounce. So the 40 area was just like, it was just like so obvious. Like it had 3 daily lows in here. Here you have a chance for a monthly low. Actually, well, boom. So this is, what's this low here? What am I looking at? 34. This chance the third monthly low because you had a 34.47 low in September monthly, 34.90 October monthly, now 35. That's to me that's a lot better area than the $40 area. Obviously, after the fact, Jack on that one, but let's see what 35 can do.
What about Wayfair here? I mean,
okay.
I guess the bad news is their revenue growth from COVID is slowing. They made less money last quarter than the quarter prior. But I mean, you go year over year. It's ridiculous. They weren't even profitable until this year, and now all of a sudden they're making $2-3 a share. Stock's up big today.
Buy the dip, sell the rip. This is a rip to sell. It's already come off the highs. It kissed right to the 300 level where all the major resistance is. That's your now major resistance point. I would not be surprised this continues to leak. I know the earnings were just awesome, but this is a stock that everybody has been stuck in for the last month, and now all of a sudden they're getting their money back. You got all kinds of overhead supply. The guy that bought at 305 was, come on, just a little higher so I can get my money back. And it went to 300, and then it's 295, it's 298. And he's like, well, just come back to 295 and I'll cut my loss there. And then it's going down 280. Then come back to 285 and I'll cut my loss there. And before you know it, the thing's giving it back. So I think up 10% here is a gift. I think the better days for Wayfair are actually behind it because I do believe we're eventually getting past the crisis. This stock has been such an incredible mover. I mean, we're up from $26 in March. The stock went up over 1,000%. There's a pile of people sitting on a pile of gains that don't want those gains to go away, and they've watched the gains go away in some other stocks. I got to think there's going to be some profit taking into this pop. So I think this is one of those that I feel more convicted on, that I think you sell it.
And this kind of reminds me of your Halion trade, Spencer. Okay, all right, we have this great run, right? And then we give it back. And then we rally back. Everything's okay, right? All the people that got caught here, everything is okay. We get back to 320. Then you catch a whole nother group of people on the second time down.
Yeah, you got people caught.
Yeah,
man.
yep. Definitely you got people caught in this one. It's leaking. I mean, it gets near 3. I mean, you're already $18 off the high.
Yeah,
so.
Getting back to 300, I don't think today.
I don't think
so. I mean, anything can happen. The market's kind of crazy, but this isn't like one of those dogs that you're squeezing right now. Like when we're looking at the hog and it continues up, or what was the other one that went up like 30%? The crappy, what was it, Spencer, retail stock like last week?
The Gap?
Not the Gap. It was another one that went up like 30% last week. Oh, Tupperware, TUP.
Yeah.
How's Tupperware?
I mean, those are squeezes to a certain extent on some of these stocks. And Tupperware's been squeezing for a while. But that was a blow off top now. So you had 2 days of squeezing them. But that's a different story. Like those can gap and go because those things have been so oversold. And all of a sudden they got some life. And then everybody's running in to get in it.
Exactly.
Everybody's already in these Wayfair stocks. That's why it's the opposite. So I think you book the profits.
Yeah, like this, I mean, just to illustrate Dennis's scenario here, like you would not be thinking of selling or shorting the thing as if it was moving up off the low, right? I mean, just big green candles, monthly candles, no pain. Nobody has pain in this stock. All buyers are making money. Well, there's plenty of people sitting on pain here between 240 and that all-time high at 340. So it's hard to pick. But we would need Jeremy to figure out where to try. I don't think he'd be trying to buy this one. I mean, where I don't know. I
On
mean, the
Wayfair?
top, yeah. What's the top of yesterday's range? 262. I don't know
If you're buying stocks up 10% on an earnings report, you're doing it
doing
backwards.
it wrong.
I think so.
Backwards.
Like I said, you got these dogs that are barking and they gap up 10%. Sometimes you can get a gap and go there. I don't think you get the gap and go here. I think you get the gap and eventually fill. I don't think it's filling today, but if I look at this a week or a couple of weeks from now, it all depends on where. I mean, we get a Biden or we get some clarity on the Trump. I mean, we could get political here in a second, because we do have an election, and that's going to matter more than anything. But if the market starts ripping higher, it's going to lift all boats. So I mean, it's all relative too. So I'm not confident that the market's going to rip higher though either, which is why I continue to sell rips and buy dips. Trading market. It has been the market to buy and hold. It's been the market just to trade and take the profits when you got them. 10% gift overnight Wayfair. I'd take it.
What about, so maybe let's pivot here to some of these areas in the market, sector stocks that were moving yesterday, theoretically on some kind of, call it election wins, right? And I want to start with solar here, only because you saw solar pop hard yesterday. You look at the ETF, well, maybe not actually. I take that back. But SolarEdge, it reported earnings yesterday. They were pretty bad. But solar is also like a quote unquote Biden trade, right? So if Biden were to win, he has said they're going to invest trillions of dollars in clean energy infrastructure. That would mean ETFs like TAN, ETFs like ICLN, ETFs like FAN for wind energy. You've got that trade, and then you've got the SolarEdge earnings, which were pretty bad yesterday, sort of going against each other here this morning.
I mean, it's down $51. It's a huge drop, and there's people licking their chops saying this is my entry point, and it might be. I think, again, I got to let the dust settle just because it hasn't paid to be on day one. Some earnings season, it's paid to buy on day one. I'm going to wait for the dust to settle. There is the potential for the solar trade, but let's be honest and maybe just talk Biden for a second. So Biden gets in, I was talking to a Reuters reporter yesterday, giving the Biden stock. Obvious Biden stocks are solar. I mean, that's just, the one that you think of very quickly. So if Biden gets in, you think it's going to be good for solar. But then you look at what it's done. And I mean, how much of that is priced in? These solar stocks have been on incredible runs. First solar, looking at that one was $60 a month ago. It's $90. It's up 50%. So are these trades crowded? I mean, that's the question too. You don't see, SolarEdge gets slammed today because it's a crowded trade. And now there's people running for the exits. So you've got to just analyze sometimes, and believe it or not, we've seen things happen, and you can have your whole list and say, okay, if Biden wins, I'm buying solar. If Biden wins, I'm going to short banks because there's going to be more regulation there. If Biden wins, I'm going to short oil stocks because he's all about clean energy, but sometimes the trades are already crowded. I mean, Biden's what, 85, 90% to win in Vegas now? Like he's the
I never
favorite.
saw statistics like that.
He's the favorite by a long shot. Anything can happen.
Sold at 90%.
But anything.
I'm at 85. I'm at 80.
80. Oh, Joel's at 80.
I got 5,075.
You can't throw numbers out there. Joel hits bids, man.
Yeah, you throw that 90 crap at me.
All I'm saying is it could be a crowded trade. It could be crowded. There's a lot of people anticipating that Biden's going to win. There's a lot of people have already bought solar stocks ahead of that. So we've seen things happen before where they actually knock solar down on a Biden victory. I would not be surprised to see that. I don't know. It wouldn't be logical that could happen, but it could happen. So I'm not going to go all in on solar until I see it, first one, Biden's win, and second, that they're actually buying solar stocks tomorrow morning. Because it could go the other way. You never know.
Sorry for yelling there, Deuce Parker, but when you wanted to be heard in the pit and you wanted to move the market, that's what you did. You yelled loud.
To move it.
If you wanted to move the spoon.
To move it.
Yeah. I didn't quite have the Baldwin leap like Tommy Baldwin in the bond pit, but he would like.
What's the Baldwin leap? How do you do it? Can you display it?
I never saw
jump out of your chair?
It's just like when he was the biggest bond trader. And when he wanted to do something, I don't know if he was a former athlete or whatever, but he would do the Baldwin leap, and he would like jump up and Yeah, that's the only one.
Sounds
Actually,
intimidating.
yeah. Let's get back to the stock here, and this is a tough one because you can definitely say someone's nibbling here. Let me bring the chart up for you. I lost my Zoom window, but I will find it real quickly. I mean, someone's nibbling here. That's all I can say. They're just a sneaky buyer.
Sneaky,
And
so
yeah,
sneaky, those buyers.
I mean, he's not saying I'm not paying 220 and I'm not paying 218. I'm paying 219. I'm paying
The buy the dippers
14.
nibble on these things.
Yeah. What if you came in like long to like 290 put and you had a trillion of them? I mean, why not bring some in here? So 214, they got to there's just a buyer in there. I don't know what the volume is on it, but a buyer is a buyer. Do we have a daily low that coincides with that? No, we don't. This guy's trying to make his own chart. After that, I see a trapdoor down to 204.55. That's your next daily low. But I don't know. That's weird. I mean, if I was short, I might be joining that bid if he shows any size or repeats itself. But it's been holding that since the after hours session. Your pop off that low was 226.12. So there's your early range in Solar Edge.
All right, let's go to a couple of stocks that have ballot initiatives tonight before we go to our guest here. I want to start with Uber and Lyft. It's probably maybe the most notable individual news story of the night with regards to the election. Prop 22 in California, and we can actually get Nick to comment on this because he lives in California and he's been long Uber. I don't know if I'm assuming he's still on Uber. We'll find out in a few minutes here. But Prop 22, which would exempt ride sharing and delivery companies from other companies in the gig economy that would have to reclassify their workers as contractor, reclassify them as employees and provide benefits and sick leave and all that stuff. If Prop 22 passes, that's good for Uber and Lyft. If it fails, that's bad for Uber and Lyft. How do the charts shake out this morning?
I think getting out of the pandemic, I mean, this is a very important initiative. There's just a wall at 37 in Uber. If it happens to get up there tonight or overnight, got 3 highs in that area and real good support at 33, and you're almost in the middle of that range. So that's my technical comments on Uber. And then I actually left my lineup in the Lyft chart here, and I kind of like that. Long term here, I drew a really steep trend line, and that puppy's holding. Look at that. Off the all-time high, off this, almost catches this high. It's coming in, so not a huge, drawer on charts kind of trader, but
pretty clear downtrend.
Yeah, pretty clear downtrend, and if you break it, you got to hold it. So that's what I'm looking at Uber and Lyft.
I mean, it's tough. Like we've got to get back past the virus. As much as the cruise lines, as much as Disney, Boeing. The airlines, the casinos all need us to get past COVID. Uber and Lyft do as well because nobody wants to ride in a stranger's car.
I should also mention that Uber is on the schedule to report earnings, I believe, right? Did I get that right? Make sure.
I don't know.
The Uber Eats has helped over.
Uber reports on Thursday, but again, I think this Prop 22 thing might be more relevant because it could have potentially changed the entire business model if the initiative fails. So you know what? Let's ask our guest. Nick Chahine is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Sellspreads.com is the other site. Joins us every other week. Nick, are you still on Uber?
I am. Yeah. And the same concept still works.
Okay.
So here, my concept on Uber is that they're not in the people moving business. This is how they just started. They've already had, I think, 10, maybe between 8 and 12. I can't remember. Last time I checked, it was somewhere around 10 income streams. So eventually it will be something like Amazon, maybe not to the same magnitude, but the same idea, aggregator of businesses and ditching what doesn't work. So you try a whole bunch of stuff and you stick with what works. That's why you guys mention Lyft with Uber interchangeably is usually wrong, but today it's not because of the Prop 22 in California. So I think Uber doesn't care about it as much as Lyft. And if I were them, I would pull a Bezos like they did before. Hey, you don't want us here? We'll go. Let's see how.
What are their other businesses, Nick? I know there's Uber Eats. What are their other?
They have some drone business, either healthcare or something with education. I can't remember. Something with finance. Go to their website. They have a list of them.
Okay.
So they do have other. The goal is not to be the people mover, but rather just have a whole bunch of businesses that are doing well. That's how I read Dara when he first joined. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'll just call him by his first name. So that's the idea with the Uber. And if you look at Uber and Lyft relative to where they came out of the gate, it's not even a comparison.
Yeah.
So that they should not talk about the two as if they're comparables. They're different worlds.
I completely agree. I don't know if we talk comparables or you're talking general media, but I completely agree with this because Uber is trying. They're not sitting here waiting for the pandemic to go away. They went right to the Uber Eats right away. I mean, these people are thinking. They're thinking, this could be here for a while. We can't just be moving people or we're going to be out of business. We need to figure out some other stuff. And you can see the separation that's happened between Uber and Lyft even since the pandemic. I mean, yes, both stocks got killed back in March as everything did, but Uber has come back, almost the majority of it, where you look at, Lyft was trading around 40 and now it's 24. You can talk about a stock that's still 40% off where it was in March. So there's definitely separation between these two stocks that's occurring in the share prices, where Wall Street's speaking and they say, Uber's figuring some stuff out and Lyft still has some stuff to figure out.
Yeah, and Uber, if you look at the last 6 months, you can draw a line somewhere around 33, and it will split the action half and half between 33 and 35. So it is holding a pivot for the last 6 months. And you mentioned some resistance around 37, yes, but it's also like the trend edge. And a lot of people like to chase breakout of trend lines. I prefer level breakouts. Like if I see it above 37.10, that might bring in some buyers and maybe they can take out the 38.40. And if then it's open air.
Explain that again, Nick, with that concept that you just had there.
So there's resistance into 35.80, 35.90, just from the last biggest daily candle. I'm just looking at the daily chart.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, so that would be on the 27th. And then there's resistance cluster around 37, 36.95 to 37, which you mentioned. If they break through that, they might invite enough buyers to take out the last three major fails, somewhere around 38.50. One date's early October, one is mid-September, and one is back June. So you break out of that, then there's open air because the last fail point is so old, will take you back to the February crash. So then the bulls will have runway.
All right, Nick, are there any election trades you're making, or are you just going to...
Yes, buy the dip. So if
buy the dip.
This thing works, this buy the dip thing.
If there's a dip, buy it. So it's easy. Here's the reading charts is so simple. I had a few aha moments in the last 5 years. It's not even, it's very, very silly. So you have to figure out who's in control of the price action at what time frame you're looking at. So if you look at a long time frame, the bull is completely in charge. There are no bears around. So every dip, that's why every dip gets bought. The only way this changes is if we have a structural breakdown, because right now the only variable is sentiment, because the Fed is in it all the way. So money is flowing. Sentiment is the pivot because structure, it's working. Nothing's broken. If something breaks this week, then that changes the game a little bit. Otherwise,
what would that be, Nick? I mean,
fighting in the streets. I don't know. I grew up in a war, so I can see a lot of scenarios. I put up a flag in front of my house this week to represent America, and I bet you people will assume who I'm voting for. So everybody,
wait, hold on. So Nick, so a structural change like in sentiment or like
no structural change like we literally have fighting in the streets. So we get an election, somebody says something. My son went and voted yesterday. He's a hothead. He's 19. He thinks he knows everything. He went in to vote. Two people fighting in line, and a 50, he said, well, he's 50 something, a guy with an older woman, and they're just arguing and yelling and screaming at each other. and they're in a small little peaceful town where I live. It's just
Yeah.
those two, middle-aged people fighting with words. Imagine my son doing it with somebody else who's as hot-headed as he is. It could come to blows pretty quickly. I'm just saying, I don't anticipate this. I think whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I am long, biased long. I have hedges, and that's it. It's very easy. Stick with your thesis. That's the only thing you can do. Or sit in cash and wait it out. What are you going to miss? 2-3% upside?
Well, or all the compounding effects of going into cash in the first place. But excuse me. So, Nick, you're buying dips. Is there anything specific that you're watching in the short term here, either today or in the next few days, next week, next 2 weeks?
So I bought Visa's dip. I'm looking at oversold stuff. I'm not usually a relative strength index guy, but it tells you you're not making a giant mistake if you decide to go long something. So pick your tickers, look at them from different angles. I've been using this new sentiment tool, and it's been pretty incredibly, it's not like the trigger, but it's like a consultant, just like the RSI. If you're looking to get long something and you look at the RSIs on several time frames and they look all high, like wait out. So sentiment went to 8 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Wait, what is this tool?
Okay, so
He'll have to kill you if he tells you.
No, I'll tell you. It's called the Market Structure Edge. It's not free.
Okay, yeah.
They've been your guests before.
Yeah, we had them on the show. Yeah.
Who's that? Who's that, Spencer?
Oh, don't put me on the spot. I'm trying to remember his name. I can't remember everyone's names.
Tim.
Thank you. Tim.
Oh yeah. That was just a couple weeks ago. Okay, go. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so they have a scale. People challenged it. I know people on Wall Street, and I mentioned it. They go, how do they measure? Like, it doesn't matter how they measure it. If you've got a broken ruler and you always use the same ruler, you're going to be right. So you're relatively right. So it showed that sentiment went to 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. And they said historically it stays between 4 and 6. So if you're going to get long the market and this sentiment tool tells you it's as high as it's been in a long time, you should sit it out. Whether it's right or wrong, it's clearly not a good place to get in. There's more downside potential. So now it's back down to 4.1. So you can see it. It started turning down and now everybody's worried, blah, blah, blah. They put all kinds of reasons to it. It's just price action, in my opinion. Nothing has changed. We're just trading price action. So I've been picking good concepts. I was long things like W and shipping, which I didn't like before. But the concept was, I think we're going to have a good holiday season and it's all going to be online.
Are you still on W? Because the stock's giving back 30 points of its gains here now. It's down another 12 from where we were talking about 10 minutes ago.
I closed mine and
before earnings.
Yes. And
oh boy, that good call, Triple D. I guess that was we kind of tag team that one.
Yeah, we didn't like it.
No, that's okay. So the concepts are easy. The W, I had a projection on it, and it hit the level where it was going to break down or not. I didn't think it was going to break down, but I said, you know what? I got enough of it. I want to be out. So I can't keep all the trades that I write up for myself. Otherwise, I'd have a portfolio that you'd need a computer to run.
You typically get out before earnings too, though, on your trades.
Yeah, because it's a gamble. Like Facebook, I gambled, stayed in it. I should not have. I had a big win into the earnings, and it came quickly, so I didn't feel obliged to take it. And now I have to sit in it. It's long term. It's into next year, so I have to sit in it until it recovers, which is fine. I'm not worried about it. But yeah, you have to take your wins whenever they come. I'm okay leaving money on the table, but I don't like coin flips. So going into the earnings headline, it's a coin flip. If you don't believe it, let's talk about the last few. Amazon reported they crushed the expectations. They raised guidance. They doubled or tripled their whatever they were expecting and the income from last year. What else do you want? And then they complain about that AWS dropped to 29% increase. Are you kidding me with this? So
it's tough.
And then you get other companies that deliver crappy reports and then they rally. So it doesn't matter.
It's all about how crowded the trade is to a certain extent.
It's expectations. You can't forecast expectations.
I looked at this Camping World yesterday. It was this pre-market prep stock of the day, and the earnings report that it had. Let's see, going back this day, that was like a huge beat, a beat and a beat, and they beat the crap out of the stock, and then it came back down to support and everything. So I just wanted to. They lost $10, and they just blew. I didn't even I didn't give any negative guidance, and then they had another good report yesterday, and it rallied and gave it back. I guess people aren't buying as many campers in that one. But I just wanted to throw that in there. Go ahead, Spence.
Yeah, but you also have to look at the range. Sometimes it's about the range, not about whatever is going on.
Exactly.
Because we, the people trading, are probably 10% of the market. The rest is machines and most likely passive income management. So the machines are programmed to act on levels. If you don't know technicals, you're really giving the advantage to your competitor. And if you don't think it's a competition, you're not buying or selling stocks off the shelf. It's definitely a competition. If you're not using charts, your opponent might be. So I'm just saying you need to learn charts, and it's easy and simple concepts.
That's a great point. As always, we don't say that enough probably, but we should. Nick Chahine is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads and sellspreads.com. Nick, thanks for the insights.
It's over? Oh my gosh.
What else you got? Give us something. Give us a good trade prior to the election. Give us one.
Good trade.
Give us an idea.
Buy sheep, sell deer.
Buy sheep, sell deer. No, hold the SPY long term. Buy a debit call spread for the SPY into next year.
What derails the bull thesis? This is just, I'll just play devil's advocate because I'm overall along the market as well. But, at a certain point, we did this exercise yesterday, and we were looking, where Japan is in the last 30 years. And it's been down over the last 30 years. And Canada's gone nowhere for the last 10 years. And Europe's gone nowhere for the last 10 years, actually down slightly. And then we looked at China's gone nowhere for the last 10 years. And the U.S. has just been straight up. What derails this U.S. bull market? Is there anything?
Yes, you need a change in the price drivers. The Fed broke it in October of 2018. They can do it again. So if the Fed changes, that's one thing that can derail it. If we have literally a broken structure, like for some reason our market is broken, the lending is broken, something that doesn't allow us to function, the government is shut down or something like that, the world is shut down, another virus that is so contagious and kills people. So you need a change in the formula. Right now, the formula of money flowing is there. That's the Fed. If they change it, they can break it. If the actual us moving around to make things go around changes, we can break it, as we saw. There have been like 3 headlines in the last 10 years. The Fed in 2018 that actually changed the game. The rest, all the other headlines you could have ignored and they wouldn't have affected your trading a bit. So if you didn't listen to the Fed in 2018, they flipped, they changed the game. The Trump election changed the game because he actually added points to the P&Ls. So that the Biden win, if he wins this time around, will take points from the P&L, but it's probably already priced in. So things like that will change your game. If you actually change the money flow or the actual workings of the structure of the government, the people, everything. That's my opinion. So
Nick,
everything else you can ignore.
Nick, good luck voting if you haven't already done so.
I did.
All right, as did I, and I.
You want to know who for? No.
Yeah, you can tell us.
I have a flag on my front lawn. I have a flag on my front lawn.
I'll tell you.
Yeah,
I think we know who you voted for.
I'll give it away. All right, Nick Chahine, we appreciate the time as always. We'll speak to you on the other side of this election.
This was fun. Later, guys and gals.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Hope all is well.
All right, I want to go to back to the ballot initiatives that we've got on the radar for tonight. We talked about Uber and Lyft. Cannabis is on the ballot in several states. Where's my list here that I had? Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, and South Dakota will vote to legalize recreational marijuana tonight. New Jersey, obviously the biggest of those states because it brings the New York market with it. Cannabis ripped yesterday. Last I checked, it was up ripping again this morning across the board.
Yeah.
Yes, it still is the case. So they are pricing in. So you got 2 things here. You've got those individual initiatives on those states, and then you've got Biden saying that if he wins, essentially he's going to legalize marijuana on a federal level. So you've got 2 two tailwinds here for cannabis. You got Biden and you've got the individual states, and you're seeing that trade just take off here.
Again, though, what do we see here and what is consistent is the run up before the event. The vote is coming. This is a known event, and it's predictable. And I wish, we've been talking about this a couple of days ago because I may have went long some of these stocks. It's predictable that they're going to have a run up ahead of the vote, ahead of the event. What isn't predictable is the outcome, afterwards. And what, and you look, you say, okay, well, there's a lot of good news all of a sudden priced into a lot of these cannabis stocks that have been dogs. I mean, and you can look at the Canadian ones, and I don't know if they're impacted as much because of the U.S. vote. But again, if you legalize it, I guess it's, more potential customers, even from a Canadian perspective. But, Afria is up 10% yesterday. I mean, that's a huge move. CGC was up over 10% and up again this morning, these stocks. GRWG, which is one grow generation, they talk about this in the U.S., had a big day yesterday. So you get to a point where, okay, how crowded is the trade? That's what becomes expectations, like Nick was just talking about. What are the expectations? Is it all expected that they're all going to say yes, and then they do say yes, and is it a sell-on news event? I mean, I think you could see some strength ahead of it again today, which you're already seeing. But do I want to necessarily take them long into the vote? No, because it's, not necessarily a coin flip, but we just don't know, even in the event that they all vote yes, that's necessarily not already priced in. So the run up, the easier, more predictable alpha is to own stocks ahead of the event. We've talked to this, and for the last 5 years we've done the show. We've consistently talked about this, and it's consistently how I've made money over my years and years of trading is being long ahead of events. I didn't realize and didn't think about the cannabis vote, or I probably would have been long some of these cannabis stocks going in, and I would be selling them tonight.
You don't know the outcome. You don't.
It's probably and maybe it's yes. Maybe you think you know the outcome, but it's not necessarily. You don't even know. If they say yes, that they necessarily might sell off. You never know.
Because if it could win in states and then Biden could lose. I mean, there's a lot of different.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
Pick your points. If you're doing these kind of trades and you bought it and you have targets or whatever, then take them and don't have any regret. I mean, maybe hold a little runner if it's a good one, but it looks like some of these are trading above yesterday's high. So if you are holding these, make sure they stay above yesterday's high and surely not to go red.
And people are saying, oh, the cannabis stocks are cheap and they're due for a rally. Well, they were oversold, so yeah, they're due for a rally. They're cheap, especially these Canadian ones. We've went through this exercise. They're cheap because, from a valuation perspective, they make no sense at all. I've argued, Afria, is situated in the town I was born in. There's a lot of people who are along it from there. I've been bearish Afria forever because I can see the operation. It's a greenhouse full of pot plants. It's not worth $1 billion or whatever the hell the valuation is. The logic doesn't make any sense. The story cooled off, and that's what I was arguing. When it was a $2 billion valuation and $3 billion, and then it ended up going up. And then ends up obviously it's significantly off the highs there now. But to just come in and say, oh yeah, eventually these things are going back to $20. Like a Fria, where the all-time high I believe was like $24 or something. Spencer on APHA, it's the all-time high on that one. George, Joel, you can go back out and see.
Yeah, I could go. I got chart. Dennis, where were you born again?
$19.
Well, I don't want to give all my information out because they're already trying. Somebody got my credit card number and they had to change my credit card.
I just wondered because I saw there was.
Anyways, you can do that. You can figure it all out. But all I'm saying is, Afria is still worth $1.45 billion at this price.
I think $19 was almost 20 was the all-time high.
It's a greenhouse full of pot plants. Yes, they have a good business. They've turned it around. They've got new management in there. They're doing a lot of things right. But I firmly believe, when I look at APHA 5 years from now, it's under $1. That's what I think it's worth. I think it's in the pennies is the value. Value doesn't matter when the story's hot. The pot stock has completely cooled off. So I'm sorry to the long-term Afria bulls that think this thing's going back to 20. I completely disagree with you. I'm on the other side of the trade. I would be selling all pops on these Canadian pot stocks. And we got to look at the valuations and stuff. But I just see a greenhouse full of pot plants. I don't know how in the hell that's worth $1.45 billion. I can't grasp it because you know what? The greenhouse that's full of tomato plants next door is worth $10 million. So the greenhouse full of pot plants is worth $1.45 billion. What's the difference? A crop's a crop at this point in time. They don't have, where we've got, all these, like, before, they only had 28 licenses. The licenses are given out in Canada like candy now. So it's just another crop. So how is it different than tomatoes? Yes, it's medical. Yes, maybe we give it a little bit of a premium, but should it trade at 100 times premium to what the greenhouse full of tomato plants is trading for, or the greenhouse full of cukes is trading for? I personally don't believe so. And that's why I think Afria goes a lot lower in the long term. So I'd be a seller of all rallies in those. And you got it in the Afria one, I know more on a personal level, because like I said, I can drive by that. My parents live there. I can see, what it is. And yes, they've done a lot of good things. Just the valuation's just nuts. And it got really nuts.
What about if I can pivot away from this for a second here, what about DraftKings and Penn National? You've got sports betting. You got sports betting on the ballot in 3 states tonight: Maryland, Louisiana, South Dakota. It's already legalized, remember, and I want to say 14 or 15 states. So this would just add to that total. But you've got that's probably the third thing. So I'm watching 3 things tonight as far as ballot measures. I'm watching Uber and Lyft in California. I'm watching cannabis, and I'm watching sports betting in these 3 states.
Go, Joel.
We already did the DraftKings. I mean, there's a good level of 35 if you're stepping out here. That was even support back here. I did not look at Penn. Penn has been leaking. That finally caught up. That just has a potential double bottom here. What do you have on the dailies? It's trading up 34 cents. 52. It's a big number. 52 was back here. So you have some identifiable levels of support here. I just don't know about the ballots. I mean, if you're in a state where it's not legal, how hard is it to still, wager if you want to wager? So that's what I'll say on that.
All right. I think we got to everything on our list. I apologize.
I really pissed everyone off in the chat about the pod comments there. So
yeah,
well,
okay.
They're saying, I've been saying that forever. Yeah, you know what? I've been saying it for years, and look what the stock's done. I've been proven correct. I mean, I was wrong. I was early on it when it got to $5 and $6 originally. I thought it was overdone. It went to 20, but I mean, it's $5 now. So I think the bears in the last 2 years on Afria have been proven correct.
What else you want?
I think it goes a lot lower.
Yeah.
People are mad, but I'm sorry. I don't think it's going back to 20. It's just my opinion.
All right, 8:58 here. We got about a minute left in our show. Joel, you survived it. I know, Joel, you were nervous about this morning. You survived the election day show. I want to see if there's anything in the chat. Oh, here's one. Yeah, FOXA. Fox had earnings this morning. It's up. What is it, up 4%? They gave good numbers. This one is, they're obviously I would definitely call this a political play, but Fox is set regardless of who's in the White House. I mean, I don't think their viewership is not going down, if Trump loses, right? So I think they're set regardless, but it's interesting that they're reporting earnings today of all days. It was a nice quarter for Fox.
Reporting on the right day too, because value stocks are back in favor. So the overall tape and sentiment towards value stocks is strong right now. So if they said anything okay, they were probably going to buy this. They want an excuse to buy these stocks right now. I'm scared to buy value stocks because every time, the last 2 years or 5 years or 10 years even, these value stocks have had a significant run of 10, 15, 20% in a couple of days. You look back on them and eventually they go
back down. Yep.
It's been tech. And, if I look at my portfolio, it's full of tech stocks. It's what's worked. It's what continues to work. I'm buying tech. Like I said, I like the PayPal on a pullback. I like the company. I'm not buying on day one, but it's on my watch list. And, I probably will strike on that. Am I buying a rip on Fox? No, I would be selling a rip on Fox because I think there's just a lot of, I don't see that catalyst continue to drive, and Fox is going to be, and all these value stocks are going to be the stocks that we're going to want to own. I don't see value. You get these value money managers on CNBC all the time. They're like, this is the time. Value is going to come back into favor. They've been saying that for 10 years, and they've been proven wrong. And maybe eventually they're right, but they've been wrong so many times. The amount of money they've lost from being wrong all those other times isn't going to make up for the one time that they're right and they make some money. So it's paid to buy discounts and and the dips on good tech companies that are growing. It is paid to sell the rips on value stocks that are not growing.
I just want to say something real fast because I'm feeling a little insecure about it this morning. I'm wearing a blue shirt. I get dressed in the dark. Okay, this was unintentional. I didn't.
Why do you get dressed in the dark?
Because that's just what I do. I did not intend to wear like a blue shirt meaning anything today. But I'm feeling really insecure about that. So I just want everyone to know that my blue shirt does not mean anything.
It says if he turned it inside out, it says Biden on it.
I'm just as I could have worn a red shirt today. I didn't think about it, but if anyone noticed that, I'm not meaning anything about this blue shirt. Really, I'm feeling a little insecure about that fact. Also, because we're going to be doing a Benzinga News Desk watch party live stream tonight on our YouTube channel, 7:30 to 9:30. Myself, hopefully Joel or Dennis, and a bunch of guys from our news desk.
What time's this?
Covering the election. We'll be on for 2 hours from 7:30 to 9:30, wrapping up the end of the after-hours session and then going into the overnight hours. And
you can get us right here at PreMarket.Benzinga.
Yep, we'll be on our YouTube channel.
Do you want to go on? Are you going to go on, Dennis?
I'll come on for a bet.
It'd be great if both you guys could stop by. I know Dennis trades till 8, but after that,
Dennis, let me know if you go on. I may go on.
All right, great.
And Dennis, and just for your information, Dennis is wearing a green shirt.
I was gonna say that
he's gonna get long all the pot stocks today.
Look, I got a green shirt on,
yeah.
And so that means I'm supposed to be raw bullish pot stocks, and I just gave the most bearish rant on pot stock. So just because the color of your shirt doesn't necessarily mean your opinion.
Definitely today of all days, that is true. All right, everyone. Obviously,
have a good day, everyone. Get out and vote.
Yeah.
Show that you care about America. Be nice to your fellow neighbor, and
nice.
We'll see what happens.
That's
it. Interesting today. We'll be here at the afternoon show. We'll probably be right around this area in the afternoon show, and then we'll pick things up tomorrow morning.
Yep, and I'll be wearing a different colored shirt by then, I promise. That'll be it for us. You can catch a replay of this show on any major podcast platform. Thanks to our guest, Nick Chahine. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, show us your support. We appreciate all the likes and the super chats. I know we didn't get as many chat comments today as I would have liked. We'll cover more on the closing show. Please remember all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Everyone, like Joel said, have a good day. Go vote. Today is a great day for America. We'll be back with you in the afternoon.